Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today, we're being joined by Dave Ramos, author of Drive One Direction, How to Unleash the Accelerating Power of Alignment. Dave, welcome to the show.
Paul, thanks for having me.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, sir. Full speed ahead.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, I would say write a great book. One of the functions of the self-publishing dynamic is that there's lots and lots of books being published, many of whom shouldn't be published. And I would encourage people to really work hard on their book, to do the research, to have it properly edited, and write a great book that they're going to be proud of for, decades to come.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, actually, getting published is simple. Maybe it's too easy, really. You can just create a document and upload it onto Amazon and just, say that you're published. But really, I think the hard part is going through the process of saying, what do I want this book to do? Who's the target audience for the book? What problem does this book solve? And then you can go through the process of getting it published. So you got to do the hard work before you hit publish.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Well, this latest book, Drive One Direction, features 50 case studies of exemplar companies, everything from Amazon to Netflix to USAA, even Cirque du Soleil. And so what we did is we issued a press release that recognized all these companies as being exemplars on launch day. And we were really, really impressed with how much coverage that press release got. And many of the exemplar companies then also shared the press release and shared the news about being in the book. And so that really kind of gave an exponential impact to launch day for us.
So you bring up a very interesting strategy with that. So in your book, you did 50 case studies about all these great companies, and then you created a press release. Now, did you also reach out to representatives of each of these companies to go, hey, I have this book coming out, we've spotlighted you in the book, and now we're going to create this press release for you. If you guys want to share it, you're welcome to. What was your strategy to be able to get their buy-in?
Yes. First, we gave them all a chance to review their chapter. Now, to put it in perspective, every chapter is 1 page long. So these case studies are really quick reads. And we tell positive stories about the companies. And so they were all very, pleased to be in the book, proud to be recognized as an exemplar. And so because the PR team had already approved the chapter, they were on board then for launch day, and they knew it was coming because we had worked with them all along.
And then how did you choose these 50 specific companies?
Well, I researched well over 300 companies as part of our project. I interviewed 100 CEOs, and then we culled those down to the best 50 stories and then put them in the book, and that's how we got there. But it was a lot of work, frankly, 2 years' work. That's why my opening advice was to write a great book, and I'd like to believe we really did this time.
Well, with those companies, so did every single one of them respond to you, or what was the response rate with that if they didn't?
We had a few that were difficult to get through to, and we just, it is what it is. But the vast majority of them were great to work with. They were super helpful. They provided clarifications or insights. In some cases, the CEOs that I interviewed were part of the exemplar companies, and so they were great to work with. But we had some people that blew us off, like anything in the world now.
And then when you did the press release, when you mentioned these companies, I'm assuming you also sent them the press release, correct?
We sent it to them in advance, and so they knew it was coming. And yes, and then we put the press release out on the newswire. And again, we were shocked by how broad the pickup was. And, the Lubbock Times and all kinds of places that I never would have imagined would have picked up a press release about the book.
And did it cost you anything to put the press release out with the newswire?
Yes, we used a PR newswire service. And I want to say, Paul, that might have been $350, probably the best $350 I spent.
And the other question I was going to ask, too, is these companies that you featured, did any of them buy the book in bulk for their employees?
Yes. Yes, that happened. And one company that was featured not only bought them for their employees, they bought them as Thanksgiving gifts for their 100 top customers and sent them to the CEOs of those customers. And so that was really a nice gesture as well.
Nice. So did you give them a bulk rate, or were you selling them to them at retail prices?
Well, in this case, it happened to be a customer of mine, so they got a bulk rate.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was grateful not only that they wanted to give their employees copies, but they were so proud to be in the book, Paul, that they wanted to share the news with their customers and some of their suppliers.
Excellent. Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, Paul, I'm a reader, so I've read probably 400 books, and I've written 4 of them. But there's only one book that really changed my life, Paul, and that's the Bible. And so I learned all kinds of things from that book. But I wanted to share one thought in that in the Bible, it says, "Fear not," 365 times. And I think in our present situation with the coronavirus and everything going on, that's a good reminder for all of us. That's a fear not a day. And I'm trying to apply that for myself.
And I think we all are. And I think that's a great point that you brought up. I mean, it's the biggest thing right now.
Yeah.
Nothing to fear but fear itself, right? I mean, fear is not going to get us anywhere. It's just taking precautions,
Yeah.
being safe, and using common sense.
That's correct. And on a business level, Good to Great was the book that really inspired me to become an author and to have my books be research-based like Good to Great was, as opposed to just write a bunch of pontification and throw it on Amazon.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, when I started my company, someone told me this quote: "The defining trait of a successful entrepreneur is irrational perseverance." And I think that's also true of a successful author. It's irrational perseverance. You just have to keep going and going and not let the objections or the naysayers or anything else get you down. You just have to keep powering through and get it over the goal line.
Dave, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Well, thank you, Paul. Shift Points is the name of my company, and you can find it. So that's shiftpoints.com. And we're also at Shift Points on Twitter, and I'm personally very active in the LinkedIn community, and so you can find us there and reach out to me there.
Dave, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.